2 Chronicles 26. And all the people of Yehudah took Uzziah, who was 16 years old, and set him up to reign instead of his father, Amaziah. He built Eloth and restored it to Yehudah after the sovereign slept with his fathers. Uzziah was 16 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 52 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Yecholiah of Jerusalem. And he did what was right in the eyes of Yahweh, according to all that his father Amaziah did. And he sought Elohim in the days of Zechariah, who had understanding in the visions of Elohim. And while he sought Yahweh, Elohim made him prosper. And he went out and fought against the Philistines, and broke down the wall of Gath, and the wall of Yabneh, and the wall of Ashdod, and built cities around Ashdod and among the Philistines. And Elohim helped him against the Philistines and against the Arabians who lived in Gur-baal, and the Mehunites. And the Ammonites gave gifts to Uzziah, and his name spread as far as the entrance of Mitzrayim, for he strengthened himself greatly. And Uzziah built towers in Jerusalem at the corner gate, and at the valley gate, and at the corner buttress, and strengthened them. And he built towers in the wilderness, and dug many wells, for he had much livestock, both in the low country and in the plain. Farmers and vine dressers in the mountains and in Carmel, for he loved the soil. And Uzziah had an army of fighting men who went out to battle by divisions, according to the number of their roll, as prepared by Yehiel the scribe, and Maaseiah the officer, under the hand of Hananiah, one of the sovereign's commanders. The total number of the clan chiefs of the mighty brave ones was 2,600, and under their hand was an army of 370,500 that fought with mighty power to help the sovereign against the enemy. And Uzziah prepared for them, for the entire army, shields and spears and helmets and body armor and bows and sling stones. And he made machines in Jerusalem, devised by skilled men to be on the towers and the corners to shoot arrows and large stones. And his name spread far and wide, for he was marvelously helped till he became strong. But when he became strong, his heart was lifted up to his destruction, for he trespassed against Yahweh his Elohim by entering the Hekal of Yahweh to burn incense on the slaughter place of incense. And Azariah the priest went in after him, and with him were 80 priests of Yahweh, who were brave men. And they stood up against sovereign Uzziah, and said to him, "It is not for you, Uzziah, to burn incense to Yahweh, but for the priests, the sons of Aaron, who are set apart to burn incense. Get out of the set-apart place, for you have trespassed, and there is no esteem to you from Yahweh Elohim." And Uzziah was wroth, and he had a censer in his hand to burn incense. And while he was wroth with the priests, leprosy broke out on his forehead before the priests in the house of Yahweh, besides the incense slaughter place. And Azariah the chief priest and all the priests looked at him and saw he was leprous on his forehead. And they hurried him from there. And he also hurried to get out, because Yahweh had struck him. And sovereign Uzziah was a leper until the day of his death, and dwelt in a separate house, because he was a leper, for he was cut off from the house of Yahweh. And Jotham his son was over the sovereign's house, ruling the people of the land. And the rest of the acts of Uzziah, from the first to the last, the prophet Yeshayahu, the son of Amoz, wrote. So Uzziah slept with his fathers, and they buried him with his fathers in the field of the burial place, which belonged to the sovereigns, for they said, "He is a leper." And Jotham his son reigned in his place. 27. Jotham was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Ursha, the daughter of Sadok. And he did what was right in the eyes of Yahweh, according to all that his father Uzziah had done. Only he did not come into the Hekal of Yahweh, and the people continued to act corruptly. He built the upper gate of the house of Yahweh, and he built much of the wall of Yophel. And he built cities in the hill country of Yehudah, and the forests he built palaces and towers. And he fought with the sovereign of the Ammonites, and had strong victory over them. And the children of Ammon gave him in that year 100 talents of silver, and 10,000 cores of wheat, and 10,000 of barley. This was the children of Ammon paid him. This is what the children of Ammon paid him, also in the 2nd and 3rd years. And Jotham strengthened himself, for he prepared his ways before Yahweh his Elohim. And the rest of the acts of Jotham and all his battles and his ways, see, they are written in the book of the sovereigns of Israel and Yehuda. He was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. So Jotham slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city of David, and his son Abaz reigned in his place. Chapter 28. No, Ahaz. Ahaz reigned in his place. Ahaz was 20 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem, and he did not do what was right in the eyes of Yahweh, as his father David had done, and walked in the ways of the sovereigns of Israel, and made molded images for the Baals. And he himself burned incense in the valley of the son of Hinnom, and burned his children in the fire according to the abominations of the nations whom Yahweh dispossessed from before the children of Israel, and slaughtered and burned incense on the high places and on the hills and under every green tree. Therefore Yahweh his Elohim gave him into the hand of the sovereign of Aram, and they struck him, and took many of them away as captives, and brought them to Darmesek. And he was also given into the hand of sovereign Israel, who struck him with a great slaughter. And Pekah son of Remaliahu killed 120,000 in Yehuda in one day, all brave men, because they had forsaken Yahweh, Elohim of their fathers. And Zikri, a mighty man of Ephraim, killed Maasyahu, son of the sovereign, and Ezrikam, the officer over the house, and Elkanah, who was second to the sovereign. And the children of Israel took captive from their brothers 200,000 women, sons and daughters, and they also seized from them much spoil, and they brought the spoil to Shomeron. But a prophet of Yahweh was there, whose name was Oded, and he went out before the army that came to Shomeron, and said to them, See, because Yahweh Elohim of your fathers was displeased with Yehuda, he has given them into your hand, and you have killed them in a rage that reaches up to the heavens. And now you are planning to make the children of Yehuda and Jerusalem your male and female slaves, but are you not also guilty before Yahweh your Elohim? Now therefore listen to me, and return the captives whom you have taken captive from your brothers, for the heat of the wrath of Yahweh is upon you. And some of the heads of the children of Ephraim, Azaryahu son of Yehohanan, Barak Yahu son of Mishellemoth, and Yehizkiyahu son of Shalom, and Amasa son of Hadalai stood up against those who came from the army, and said to them, Do not bring the captives here, to bring on us guilt before Yahweh. Are you planning to add to our sons and to our guilt, to our sins and our guilt? For our guilt is great, and burning is the wrath on Israel. And the armed men left the captives and the spoil before the leaders and all the assembly. And the men who were designated by the name rose up and took the captives. And from the spoil they put on all the naked among them, dressed them, gave them sandals, and gave them food and drink, and anointed them, and let all the weak ones ride on donkeys, and brought them to their brothers at Jericho, the city of palm trees, then returned to Shomeron. At that time, sovereign Ahaz sent to the sovereigns of Ashur to help him, for the Edomites had come again, and struck Yehuda, and took away captives. And the Philistines invaded the cities of the low country and of the south of Yehuda, and captured Beth Shemesh, and Ayalon, and Gedroth, and Soko with its villages, and Timnah with its villages, and Gimzo with its villages, and dwelt there. For Yahweh had brought Yehuda low because of Ahaz, sovereign of Israel, for he brought back about a lack of restraint in Yehuda, and trespassed against Yahweh. And Tiglath-Pileser, the sovereign of Ashur, came against him, and distressed him, and did not strengthen him, though Ahaz had taken some of the treasures from the house of Yahweh, from the house of the sovereign, and from the leaders, and he gave it to the sovereign of Ashur, but he did not help him. And in the time of his distress, sovereign Ahaz trespassed even more against Yahweh, this sovereign Ahaz, and he slaughtered to the mighty ones of Darmesek those striking him, saying, Because the mighty ones of the sovereigns of Aram helped them, I slaughtered to them, and they helped me. but they were to cause him and all Israel to stumble. And Ahaz gathered the utensils of the house of Elohim, and cut in pieces the utensils of the house of Elohim, and shut the doors of the house of Yahweh, and made for himself slaughter places in every corner of Jerusalem. In every city, even the cities of Yehuda, he made high places to burn incense to other mighty ones, and provoked Yahweh Elohim of his fathers. And the rest of his acts, all his ways from first to last, see, they are written in the book of the sovereigns of Yehuda and Israel. So Ahaz slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city of Jerusalem, but they did not bring him to the burial sites of the sovereigns of Israel. And Hezekiah his son reigned in his place. 29. Hezekiah began to reign when he was 25 years old, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Abijah, the daughter of Zechariah. And he did what was right in the eyes of Yahweh, according to all that his father David did. In the first year of his reign, in the first new moon, he opened the doors of the house of Yahweh and repaired them, and brought in the priests and the Levites, and gathered them in the open place to the east. And he said to them, Listen to me, O Levites, now set yourselves apart, set apart the house of Yahweh Elohim of your fathers, and remove the uncleanness from the set apart place. For our fathers have trespassed and done evil in the eyes of Yahweh our Elohim, and have forsaken him, and have turned their faces away from the dwelling place of Yahweh, and have given their backs. And they have shut the doors of the porch, and put out the lamps, and they have not burned incense or offered ascending offerings in the set-apart place to the Elohim of Israel. Therefore the wrath of Yahweh fell upon Yehuda and Jerusalem, and he has given them up for a trembling, for an astonishment, and for a hissing, as you see with your eyes. And see, because of this, our fathers have fallen by the sword, and our sons and daughters and wives are in captivity for this. Now it is in my heart to make a covenant with Yahweh Elohim of Israel, so that the heat of his wrath turns away from us. My sons, do not be slack, for Yahweh has chosen you to stand before him to serve him, and to be attendants for him, and burn incense. And the Levites rose up, Mahath, son of Amasai, and Yoel, son of Azaryahu, of the sons of the Kehathites, and the sons of Merari, Kish, son of Abdi, and Azaryahu, son of Yehalel, and of the Gershonites, Yoah, son of Zimmah, and Eden, son of Yoah, and of the sons of Elitzphan, Shimri, and Yeliel, and of the sons of Asaph, Zechariah, and Mattanyahu, and the sons of Hemah, Yehiel, and Shimi, and of the sons of Yeduthun, Shemaiah, and Uziel. And they gathered their brothers and set themselves apart, and went according to the command of the sovereign at the words of Yahweh to cleanse the house of Yahweh. And the priests came into the inner part of the house of Yahweh to cleanse it, and brought out all the uncleanness they found in the Hakal of Yahweh to the courtyard of the house of Yahweh. Then the Levites received to take it outside to the Wadi Kidron, and they began to set apart on the first day of the first new moon. And on the 8th day of the new moon, they came to the porch of Yahweh, and they set apart the house of Yahweh in 8 days. And on the 16th day of the first new moon, they had finished. They had came into sovereign Hezekiah and said, We have cleaned all the house of Yahweh and the slaughter place of its ascending offerings with all its utensils, and the table of showbread with all its utensils, and all the utensils which sovereign Ahaz in his reign had pushed aside when he trespassed. We have prepared and set apart, and see, they are before the slaughter place of Yahweh. And sovereign Hezekiah rose up early and gathered the heads of the city, and went up to the house of Yahweh, and they brought 7 bulls, 7 rams, 7 lambs, and 7 male goats for a sin offering for the rain, for the set apart place, and for Yehuda. And he said to the priest, the son of Aaron, to offer them on the slaughter place of Yahweh. So they slew the bulls, and the priests received the blood and sprinkled it on the slaughter place. And they slew the rams and sprinkled the blood on the slaughter place. And they slew the lambs and sprinkled the blood on the slaughter place. And they brought out the male goats of the sin offering before the sovereign and the assembly, And they laid their hands on them, and the priests slew them, and with their blood made a sin offering on the slaughter place to make an atonement for all Yisrael. For the sovereign said that the ascending offering and the sin offering is for all Yisrael. And he appointed the Levites in the house of Yahweh with cymbals and with harps and with lyres, according to the command of David and of Gad, seer of the sovereign, and of Nathan the prophet. For the command was by the hand of Yahweh, by the hand of his prophets. And the Levites stood with the instruments of David, and the priests with the trumpets, and Hezekiah gave the order to offer the ascending offering on the slaughter place. And when the ascending offering began, the singing unto Yahweh began with the trumpets and with the instruments of David, sovereign of Israel. And all the assembly were bowing, and the singers singing, and the trumpeters blowing, all this until the ascending offering was completed. And at the completion of the offering, the sovereign and all who were present with him bowed and worshipped. And sovereign Hezekiah and the rulers ordered the Levites to sing praise to Yahweh with the words of David and of Asaph the seer. And they sang praises with gladness, and they bowed their heads and worshipped. And Hezekiah responded and said, Now that you have ordained yourselves to Yahweh, come near and bring slaughterings and thank offerings into the house of Yahweh. And the assembly brought in the slaughterings and thank offerings, and all those whose hearts were so moved brought ascending offerings. And the number of the ascending offerings which the assembly brought was 70 bulls, 100 rams, 200 lambs, all these for an ascending offering to Yahweh. And the set-apart gifts were 600 bulls and 3,000 sheep. Only the priests were too few and were unable to skin all the ascending offerings, so their brothers the Levites helped them until the work was completed, until the other priests had set themselves apart, for the Levites were more upright of heart to set themselves apart than the priests. And there were also many ascending offerings with the fat of the peace offerings, and with the drink offerings for every ascending offering. Thus the service of the house of Yahweh was reestablished. And Hezekiah and all the people rejoiced that Elohim had prepared the people, because the matter came about so suddenly. Chapter 30. And Hezekiah sent to all Yisrael and Yehudah, and he also wrote letters to Ephraim and Manasseh, to come to the house of Yahweh at Jerusalem to perform the Pesach to Yahweh, Elohim of Israel. But the sovereign and his leaders and all the assemblies of Jerusalem had taken counsel to perform the Pesach in the second new moon, for they were unable to perform it at its time, because not enough priests had set themselves apart, and the people had not gathered at Jerusalem. And the matter was right in the eyes of the sovereign and the eyes of all the assembly, and they settled the matter to send a call to all Yisrael from Beersheba to Dan to come to perform the Pesach to Yahweh, Elohim of Yisrael at Jerusalem, since they had not done it for a long time, as it is written. And the runners went to all Yisrael and Yehudah with the letters from the sovereign and his leaders, and spoke according to the command of the sovereign. Children of Yisrael turned back to Yahweh, Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yisrael, so that he returns to the remnant of you, who have escaped from the hand of the sovereigns of Ashur. And do not be like your fathers and like your brothers, who trespassed against Yahweh Elohim of their fathers, so that he gave them up to ruin, as you see. Now do not stiffen your neck like your fathers. Stretch forth the hand to Yahweh, and come to his set-apart place, which he has set apart forever, and serve Yahweh your Elohim, so that his burning wrath turns away from you. For if you turn back to Yahweh, your brothers and your children shall be shown compassion by their captors, even to return to this land. For Yahweh your Elohim shows favor and compassion, and does not turn his face from you, if you turn back to him. And the runners passed from city to city throughout the land of Ephraim and Manasseh as far as Zebulun, but they were laughing at them and mocking them. Some from Ashur and Manasseh and from Zebulun, however, humbled themselves and came to Jerusalem. Also the hand of Elohim was on Yehudah to give them one heart to do the command of the sovereign and the rulers at the word of Yahweh. And many people, a very great assembly, gathered at Jerusalem to perform the festival of Matzot in the second new moon. And they rose up and removed the slaughter places that were in the Jerusalem, and they removed all the incense slaughter places and threw them into the Wadi Kidron. Then they slew the Pesach on the 14th day of the second new moon, and the priests and Levites were ashamed and set themselves apart and brought the ascending offerings to the house of Yahweh. And they stood in their place according to their right ruling, according to the Torah of Moshe, the man of Elohim. The priests sprinkled the blood from the hand of the Levites, for many in the assembly had not set themselves apart. Therefore the Levites were over the slaughter of the Pesaim for everyone who was not clean, to set them apart to Yahweh. For many of the people, many from Ephraim and Manasseh, Issachar and Zebulun, had not been cleansed, yet they ate the Pesah, contrary to what was written. But Hezekiah prayed for them, saying, Yahweh, who is good, provide atonement for everyone who has prepared his heart to seek Elohim, Yahweh, Elohim of his fathers, though he is not cleansed according to the cleansing of the set-apart place. And Yahweh listened to Hezekiah and healed the people. And the children of Israel who were in Jerusalem performed the festival of Matzah 7 days with great joy. And the Levites and the priests praised Yahweh day by day with instruments of praise before Yahweh. And Hezekiah spoke to the heart of all the Levites, those having good understanding concerning Yahweh, so they ate during the appointed time 7 days, slaughterings of peace offerings, and making confession to Yahweh, Elohim of their fathers. And all the assembly took counsel to perform another 7 days, and they performed it another 7 days with joy. For Hezekiah, sovereign of Yehudah, presented to the assembly 1,000 bulls and 7,000 sheep. And the rulers presented to the assembly 1,000 bulls and 10,000 sheep. And a great number of priests set themselves apart. And all the assembly of Yehudah rejoiced, and the priests and the Levites, and all the assembly who had come from Israel, and the sojourners who came from the land of Israel, and those dwelling in Yehudah. And there came to be great joy in Jerusalem. For since the days of Shlomo, son of David, the sovereign of Israel, the like of this had not been in Jerusalem. And the priests, the Levites, rose up, blessed the people, and their voice was heard, and their prayer came up to his set-apart dwelling place to heaven. Shalom.